Tucker Carlson claims that he was attacked in his sleep by a demon, and he has claw marks, and everything was bloody. And this is a man who is BFFs with not only Donald Trump, but also Vladimir Putin. And this Christian nationalist component of MAGA is really the most terrifying part of it.
Oh, I completely agree. I mean, Tucker Carlson, I'm like, I don't even know what to make of that. Like, is he serious? Is he tongue in cheek? Like, what's going on there?
There's this whole world of evangelical Christianity where they believe that spiritual warfare is taking place and that this election is about like this imaginary force field of angels fighting demons. And in their worldview, Trump is the angel and Kamala Harris is the demon. And they are dead serious about this. When you look into this, you see these photographs of Trump surrounded by like 50 evangelical preachers, one arm on him, one arm in the air praising. These people are completely divorced from reality. And this is the epicenter of the MAGA cult, in my opinion. And they have big plans, big plans to make the United States a Christian nation, to hell with secularism.
Right.
And then you can just roll out the characters that want to have influence and what their ideas are. So let's hear first from Charlie Kirk.
And she needs people to basically lie to their husbands, which they are promoting, by the way, which I find that entire advertising campaign so repulsive. It is so disastrous. It is just like
I'll show it in a minute.
It is the embodiment of the downfall of the American family. I think it's so gross. I think it's so just nauseating, where this wife is wearing you'll show it, wearing the American hat. She's coming in with her sweet husband, who probably works his tail off to make sure that she can go, and have a nice life and provide for the family. And then she lies to him saying, oh yeah, I'm going to vote for Trump. And then she votes for Kamala Harris as her little secret in the voting booth. Kamala Harris and her team believe that there will be millions of women that undermine their husbands and do so in a way that it's not detectable in the polling.
I have never been more furious. For him to say that, first of all, there's so many things that offend me about him. But from that clip, well, I mean, their husbands have been working so hard to provide them a nice life. Go fuck yourself. Actually, women have jobs. Women have agency. Women are able to make their own decisions. And why do you think it's okay that the woman in a marriage has to vote for the man in the marriage? Maybe the man in the marriage should follow the woman in the marriage. But we all know it's because women are supposed to submit because of the Bible. Yak, 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 yak. Go fuck yourself.
I just crack up that he's so outraged.
He's so mad
by that ad. Like, he's not outraged by any of the shit that Trump has said or done. None of it. But that ad, he just thinks it's so gross. He's so repulsed. He is beside himself. Wah, wah, wah to Megyn Kelly. And I'm just like, that is what pisses you off, that a woman could have agency and walk in with her own brain and vote for whomever the fuck she wants to. And here's the deal, Charlie Kirk. She's probably tired of fucking her husband.
Yes.
And she's had it. And maybe she knows that he, stays up all night with a jar of Vaseline beaten off all the time, and she's sick of it. Okay. And she knows that if he knocks somebody up, she wants to make sure she's staying with him because, hey, life's hard. Getting a divorce is messy. But she wants to make sure that everybody has choices at the end of that. So I just, this whole Christian nationalist shit and the attack, they start with the immigrants, gays, and then now it's full-blown assault on women. And it has been for quite some time, but you can take your foot off the gas with that because they throw up their attacks in so many different groups. But let's listen to, next up, we have another Trump Christian activist.
If you're following Satan, you're probably for abortion and you're probably for Harris. In fact, they've also polled agnostics and atheists and found like 75 to 80% of agnostics and atheists are supporting Kamala Harris. Which camp are you in? We discern the spirit of Satan inside of those agnostics and atheists and Satanists who are supporting abortion and the leftist candidate.
I think what shocks me about that is he's dead serious.
Oh my gosh, that's what I was just going to say. Like, can you imagine, seriously, you're running around saying that shit and you want people to believe you?
Like they're following Satan. Like, what are you talking about, you nut? I mean, but what's so crazy? In this country, you have a bunch of Bible thumpers that believe that bullshit. And did you hear like the fear-mongering in that? What he fails to even, I think he's incapable intellectually of understanding, is that an agnostic or an atheist is probably far more educated than just this book that was written a couple thousand years ago. And the agnostic or the atheist has learned from their voracious reading that Christianity is, in fact, a knockoff of an ancient Egyptian religion. It has all the same storylines: born of a virgin, the three kings, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and on and on. This is the most rigid, black and white, dangerous worldview that Abrahamic religions can implore upon societies. And you can look no further than what's happening in the Middle East. Iran used to be very arts, culture, and then the religion takes over. And now look at what it is. That can happen here, and that's what they want. They want a Christian nationalist nation that they marvel. They just don't like the religion of the Islam as a religion, but they marvel at the control that the religion has on women and marginalized groups over there. And they want that. And he trots out Satan. I mean, seriously, like, who the fuck believes that? Seriously, I'm dead serious. And I'm sorry if anybody listening, I mean, if you really believe that, I'm just sorry. Come on and grow up. That is insane.
I was just thinking when he was talking, I wonder if I was getting pulled over for a speeding ticket. And they said, "Why were you speeding?" And I told the cop, "Well, Satan is chasing me. He's trying to get me, so I have to outrun Satan." Like, no one is going to buy that. It makes no sense. It's divorced from reality. I don't understand. It makes me crazy.
These people have been completely indoctrinated into this religion, and it has set the psychological soil for them to go all chips in on this really fucked up guy named Donald John Trump, who we affectionately refer to as Donable Lecter. This is the age of unenlightenment. This is what happens when these white people get together and cook up all of these bad ideas. It's just, I'm going to keep going here because here's another guy. This guy is a total sociopath. His name is Joel Webbin. And here he is, and he's a huge Trumper, huge Christian nationalist. And here he is speaking about poverty.
In America, a country like ours that's really got some problems, but still has a lot of freedom and a lot of blessing by God's grace. In a country like ours, if you're poor, most often it's because you're lazy.
Yep.
It's because you're lazy. Now, that doesn't mean everybody's going to be a millionaire. But when I say poor, I mean if you're homeless, if you're on the street, it's probably because you either have some kind of psychotic, legitimate mental issue, or you're a drug addict, or you're lazy. That's pretty much comprises all the whole homeless. It's not people who are like, I'm working as hard as I can, 50 hours a week, and I have to live outside. Like, I don't know anybody like that in America.
I doubt he knows one homeless person. Right. First and foremost, I doubt he really knows any poor people. Secondly, and it's so demeaning to diminish poverty because it is a generational affliction, and there's been studies and studies on it. And it's the cruelest thing that you can do is to call somebody that lives in poverty lazy.
Right.
You have an opportunity to vote for people that will raise the minimum wage and pay people a humane wage. Jeff Bezos doesn't work any harder labor-wise than a person at McDonald's that works for minimum wage, that flips burgers and does the French fries. Jeff Bezos might paperclip and staple and click things. Another person that works in construction is really doing hard manual labor. You can look at other Western democracies, and when they pay people a livable wage, how much better the happy factor is. We don't even provide health care. So it's just, this is the cruelty of the far religious right. And this is still like a remnant, in my opinion, from the Reagan days, where people just demeaned poor people.
That's what I was going to say. Do you think that the demonization of poor people came during Reagan? Because that's what my memory is that that's when it started, that poor people are lazy. People that don't do what everybody wants them to do are lazy. And I feel like it started with Reagan. Maybe it started earlier and it just came into my consciousness at that.
I would have to Google that same thing. But I think that there has been a sustained decades-long effort to really be cruel towards poor people and towards poverty. And the religious right has really clamored onto this because in their worldview, Jesus is a white, really buff capitalist that really likes money. And you can look at the prosperity gospel and all of these mega churches. Their number one goal is making money. They say it's to save souls, but when they save more souls, they get more money.
Right.
And so it's this really skewed world, and they have to like stay in it, and they all have to stay in it together, and they're not open to any critical thinking. They're not open to any, just a tinge of maybe like, hey, if you can believe that if you want to, that sounds kind of crazy to me. I'd rather be agnostic or secular or whatever. They can't stomach it. So they have to label everybody as these are the Satanists and these are the, Christ followers. And for some reason, they all think Donald Trump is the like angel with the little cherub wings that comes down from heaven.
Right.
And I don't believe in that like black and white worldview, but if I were to believe in it, I would think that Trump was more the Satan character in this scenario, and instead of the savior character. And it's because I have read, I'm not a church going person and never have been, but I have read about this Christ character. And it seems to me like it was about helping the poor, helping the sick, hanging out with marginalized people, spoke out against the consolidation of wealth, was definitely not this big major capitalist that wanted to build mega churches with dunk tanks and rock bands and big screens and, crazy hate academy Christian schools and all this shit. And so it's wild to me because we live in the Bible Belt, viewer and listener, and it's wild to me how when they talk about their faith, how connected it is to capitalism.
It's just, the whole thing is just gross. And I'm with you. If Trump is your angel, if you claim to be on the moral high ground and Trump is your guy, then you have exposed yourself as a complete fucking hypocrite that doesn't give a shit about morals. It's all about money. That's the only answer.
Yeah, it really is. All right, guys, we'll see you later.
It's so